everyone, my name is Gary Cassidy and I'm the new lead writer for Inside the Ropes website, which is itrwrestling.com. You might be seeing a little bit more of me on the YouTube channel though, as I do a few interviews with some very special guests. Here's one of them, hopefully you enjoy it. Hey everyone, welcome back to Inside the Ropes, and we are back with a bang, pun intended, because we're joined by, here's the awkward part where you can see him anyway, but we need to introduce him. Entrepreneur, author, founder of DDPY and WWE Hall of Famer, Diamond Dallas Page. How's it going today, Dallas?
Good. I would have got on this earlier with you, but I walked up in one of my guest bedrooms that actually Ted DiBiase and his wife are coming out here for a week to train with me, work with me. Ted wants to just see a healthier lifestyle. Not that it was bad, his lifestyle, but he wants to try to turn back the hands of time like I've done. So I walked upstairs to grab a ladder because I'm putting up all these pictures in my my man cave because we just painted it. So now I got to put everything back up again. And my brother's helping, my girlfriend's helping me. And I went up there to get the ladder and I go, what are you doing? They were painting the whole, because the whole main floor, this house is like 9,000 square feet. And the main floor is about 3,300. And they had painted all that in the big eaves. But I said, I'll paint downstairs. And I didn't realize they were painting upstairs, which meant I had to cut in all the trim. So I was painting upstairs. So that's what the delay was.
That's no worries. Very, very good reason for that. And it actually links me to something that I wanted to start with, because I feel like every time I talk to you, you know, I'm from Scotland. I need to start in one place. And that's with another man who came to you for a healthier lifestyle, Drew McIntyre. A man who, I remember, I think it was 2 years ago, you told me he travelled all the way to Georgia to do some DDPY and get himself in some shape. Back then, you told me it was destined for some pretty big things. That might have been an understatement. Looking back at that point when Drew came to you to, you know, build himself up, get himself fitter, healthier, and looking to where he is now, what do you think the reason's been for his success?
I'm surprised it didn't come earlier. I was really shocked when he went back that they didn't really, they push him, but not really. And I can remember telling people, I think he's going to be the biggest star in the world. And then a year and a half later, it hadn't happened yet. And people would say to me, so do you think Drew is still going to be the top guy? I said, yeah. When they start letting him be himself, he's not a fucking psychopath. He is first of all, he's got a huge heart. He's got the best work ethic outside of me that I've ever seen. Like when you drive 7.5 hours to work with someone for 4 hours and drive 7.5 hours back the other way, you got a good work ethic.
Yeah, most definitely. I remember that. It was actually, so I interviewed you the first time and you told me it was going to be the next big thing. And then the second time you said those exact words, he's not a psychopath. Let him be himself. So it seems like it's come full circle.
If you look at Stone Cold Steve Austin, The Rock, Ric Flair, Dusty Rhodes, Kevin Nash, DDP, it's all us amped up.
Yeah. Unless
you have to play a character like Scott Hall, you know, in the beginning, did you do that, boo-boo? All right, you don't have to do it. I'll do it.
I thought that was Stone Cold coming out in the background there. I heard the glass smash.
Yeah, it sounded like it. I completely got what I was talking about. What was I talking about?
Drew McIntyre being himself, because, you know, DDP, the Rock.
Oh, yeah, right.
Turned up to...
Because like Drew, like a lot of guys don't want to do what outside of the ring, something they're not getting paid for, which is all the promotional stuff. Like when you wear the mantle, when you've got the the belt, you're carrying the company. John Cena, Shawn Michaels, Kevin Nash, they did non-stop PR.
Yeah.
And Drew's like, bring it. Like, no, there's guys that complain about it. Drew's like, no, give it to me. I want to do it. I want to be the face of the company. So it's really interesting because Drew was getting such an amazing reaction when everybody left.
Yeah.
And I remember talking to him right before Mania. And here's his big main event moment. And, a lot of people were going, oh, dude, what a drag. You finally get your spot. And no one's going to be there. Like, that's the shits. And he said, like, everybody was reacting like that. I reacted like, you want to know why I think it's amazing? Because this may be the only time this ever happens. I said, tell me who won the world title in WrestleMania 27 or 25 or 4 or 11. Tell me. I'll bet you 99% of the hardcore fans can't tell you. But everyone that you mentioned, is that a music or something? Or is that Linda? Can you tell her to stop banging, please? It's unbelievable. I'll tell you what, you guys take a break. We don't want to just go, just yell up to her, please, honey. Thank you. If you ask anybody 5 years from now, 2020, no one will forget it was COVID. And if you say you won WrestleMania, 95% of the people who watch wrestling are going to go, Drew McIntyre won that title.
Yeah.
It's like, it made him special. And that's what I told him. I said, dude, this makes you unique. This makes you special. And everything about what happens moving forward is what makes you, who you are. And he's doing this at a time where if you go back to WrestleMania, let's say 29. Netflix was out there and they were making a little bit of an impact, but there was no Amazon Prime or Hulu or, now there's 40,000 different streaming things to watch. So when I hear that, oh, wrestling's not doing the same numbers, no one is doing the same numbers. So I think that Drew is doing killer. I think and I didn't even mean to wear this shirt, my DDP Yoga UK version.
UK one.
I just happened to put it on today. Yeah.
Man.
And it's the last one I had, and then son of a bitch got paint on it.
Oh, nightmare. That's definitely appreciated. I'm sure our viewers will definitely appreciate it as well. But that's, we mentioned Drew McIntyre. There's a little bit of DDP in Drew McIntyre's upcoming opponent as well, and Randy Orton. I want to know your thoughts on the way he's adapted the diamond cutter into the RKO.
I think Randy made it his own. Just like when Johnny Ace gave me the Ace Crusher, and no one had ever seen it. I made it my own. He used to take it with one arm, and he would just make the peace sign and kick out. I used the cravat because Steven Regal taught me that. And then out of nowhere, that just came from watching Jake Roberts. I have a picture of Drew when he's 15 at a workshop with Jake Roberts.
Seminar? Yeah. That was just about 40 minutes away from here. Yeah.
Yeah, and Jake pointed at him. He said, that kid's got potential to be a star. Like, he pointed him out. So, 20 plus years later, for me, starting at 35 and to finally get my positioning to where my career took off I was almost 41 at the time. You know, in my 40s, I appreciated it so much. And then to finally get that world title, and I was in the ring with Flair and Hogan and Sting, 3 of the biggest names ever, I appreciated it at a different level. That's what Drew's going through right now. That's why his work ethic is second to none. And the really positive side is he's not wrestling 24 days a month. He's wrestling 4. And for the wear and tear on his body, this is a really big deal. Like, you know, and he'll find other ways to stay unstoppable, you know?
Yeah, gives him that.
And I'm just glad, like, when I see something in somebody, I saw it in Goldberg before I met him in a strip joint, like 6 years before he ever did it. And I just saw that guy's money. And Kevin Nash, when he got when he went in the Hall of Fame, he literally thanked me because he said, probably the reason I own my beachfront condo and all my other stuff, DDP. Because he wanted, you know, he was frustrated. He wanted to quit. And I was like, dude, do not let these people, these bookers, these writers, you know, don't let them pull you down. Don't let them beat you. You're going to be one of the biggest names in the business. There's not many names that are bigger than Kevin Nash and what he did. And then you add the business in, Kevin's in the top 1% of 1%. I mean, probably the smartest businessman in the business, period.
I'm very glad you mentioned a name that you did there because it leads me perfectly to my next question. You mentioned Goldberg. So Halloween Havoc has just been announced, and obviously people of a certain age will remember Halloween Havoc from WCW. Yourself and Goldberg main evented a show that had Warrior Hogan on it, that had Bret Hart versus Sting. Why do you think that match was the top billing, and just what are your memories from that match?
The first part of the memories, you have to understand that I was at WrestleMania 6 and I was Diamond Dallas' chauffeur. I literally drove the 62 pink Cadillac with Peggy Sue, who was Sherry Martel, Honky Tonk, Jimmy Hart, and Greg Valentine. The main event was Warrior and Hogan.
Yeah.
So 8 years later, Warrior comes into the company and he asked to speak to me and Goldberg. And we hopped in one of those golf carts because it's an arena. So it was huge. And we drove over to where his locker room was. And when he walked to the door, he gave us both a big hug. And he said, you guys are the reason I'm back. Because you were having so much fun out there that it made me remember why I used to love the business. And that was pretty cool. I don't think anybody could follow us that night. So for me to go from driving the basically pink Cadillac to the ring 8 years later to be sharing a main event spot that nobody wanted to follow, you know, and that match with Goldberg, Goldie's had some good matches since then, but he ain't ever had one that good. That's one of my top 4 matches. And that night, I never knew it till later, but Dusty Rhodes went to Eric and said, you know, this night tonight could be Dallas's night. And Eric didn't drop the strap on me that night because Goldie was going to be on Entertainment Tonight, not Entertainment Weekly, big magazine in our country, and TV Guide, when that meant something, the next day, wearing the world title.
Yeah.
And what would have been great if I'd have heard that, oh my God, I would have, because it made sense for me to beat him.
Yeah.
Like, and it would have just bumped me up to that Austin level.
Yep.
You know, it would have really, you know, especially beat him clean, you know, it would have taken me to a different spot. Not that I'm not super happy with everything that happened in my life. And we're not even bother with that right now. You know, wait till we're done. You know, the career I had was unbelievable, and I'm super thankful for it. But if that would have happened, Goldie wouldn't have had to get hit with a taser and then a finish. And he, like, that mortified him. And it would have been a lot for him to swallow, me beating him, but the diamond cutter was so over at that time, you know, it would have really made sense. But, you know, that is what it is. And to go back in time, it would have been fun. But the match was still great. You know, I always say it doesn't matter if you win or lose. It's how you win or lose. Both sides.
Yeah, and we got a little glimpse back into the past earlier this year when we seen DDP wrestling at Bash at the Beach in AEW. I need to ask, how did that come about, and might we see another DDP match in the future?
God, I hope not. Hey, Roar, do me a favor. Look on that back right there pictures. Is there that one right there? Is that one of me flying through the air? If you see it, let me know. Just bring it over. Yeah, come here. So we were, you know, Cody, you know, he's like my nephew, you know, like when Cody won his both his state championships in wrestling, in shoot wrestling. I flew back from Los Angeles for both of them. And we just interviewed Cody for a new documentary we have coming out in about a month. And it's called Relentless. Yeah. And he talks in it. And he talks about showing up. And when he first told me about All In, I said, I know I told you I wasn't doing any more diamond cutters, but if you need me to do it, you know, if it comes up, there's a spot, I'll do it. And he just let that simmer. And then about 3 days before All In, he's like, you still want to do that diamond cutter? I said, if you want me to. He goes, I got a spot. I was like, all right. And then later on, we talked about me doing a match when they became AEW. And I was kind of for it. And then I started thinking about it. I called them back and I was like, hey, bro, I might have bit off more than I could chew. You know, I don't know if I really want to do it. I feel really good right now, so maybe I won't do it. I said, let's just call it off. He goes, hey, let's just take it aside. Just, you know, we'll talk about it again. And then he asked me again at Christmas. And we were talking about doing something. Because I wanted to do that. If you told me, that interview, if you told me 19 years ago that DDP would be back on TNT with a company called AEW, I'd have to say you were smoking crack. You know, like, why would I think that? You know, the company's been disbanded. Who the hell is AEW? You know, 19 years ago, if you had told me that, like, I wanted to do that interview. I wanted to do that segment because I love the AEW crowd. And not having them and still to be doing as good as they're doing is a lot to say for because Cody, he's one of the VPs, but he's the Dusty, Rhodes version, meaning like he's the main guy with the ideas, the follow through, the storytelling, and the Bucks have a lot to do with it, and so do Kenny. But they've never been involved around not till now, the laying out of the show. And of course, Cody's around it since he was a kid. So it gave him a big leg up. And when I first saw him do All In, and I was backstage and watching everything, and he was just having fun and telling everybody, have fun. Yeah. So when he asked me about doing, I'll tell you what, I wouldn't have done it with no crowd. I wouldn't have done it. And my hat's off to every one of the boys and girls that are doing it without people, because now it's all on you. It's kind of like we've got NFL football and these guys are talking shit. There's no people in the stands. So you can really hear them now. And it's just a different game. It's not a completely different game, but it's a different game. And in wrestling, it's different. And my hat's off to them. And the first people, the first company to bring the boys out and creating that energy was AEW. Later on, WWE would do it, but AEW did it first. That was brilliant and risky in the middle of, COVID, It's pretty amazing, but there were people there. So I really thought, so wait a minute. My first match, I wrestled when I was 23, 3 times. I was the shits. I hurt my knee. Needed to take some time down, and I got my first rock and roll, small little rock and roll club to be the manager of. And I got swept away in the booze, the broads, and the party. But I had 3 matches in 1979. Then I was managing and doing color commentating for Dusty in Florida Championship Wrestling. And my wrestler, Big Steel Man, who would also be Tugboat or Shockmaster, Fred Ottmer, great guy. Fred had a match with Dickie Slater. And if Slater won the match, he got 5 minutes with the manager, which was me. And I got out there, and the match is on YouTube, Slater and DDP. I've never trained, but there's moments where I kind of look like I know what I'm doing. And other moments, it's just ridiculous. But I had a match in '89. So 70s, 80s. My big run was in the 90s, 2000. And then in 2010, I was done. But 2010 came around, and I got asked to do a tag team in Rome, Georgia. And I was already going to be in Atlanta, which is like literally 50 minutes from there. I thought, God, I'll wrestle in 5 decades, 70s, 80s, 90s, millennium, 2010. And then when Cody asked me to do it in January, I thought, wow, I've wrestled in 6 decades. Like, there's a handful, a very small handful of people who can say that. And I plan on doing it on the 7th decade too. I plan on it. Like, I'll do something there if it comes around.